also the chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Congressman, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us.
Annie, thanks for having me on during this wild time.
Yeah, are you bored? You can't possibly be bored there.
No. I just want to let you know that we had a markup for the Farm Bill, which lasted till 2 o'clock. And because I had early meetings this morning and a couple of radio shows, I was up back at 5. So we're going strong and fast.
Yeah,
so we're good.
Well, that's good because that's what's best for the American people. I want to get your thoughts on the Kristi Noem firing is way it's being reported right now. Markwayne Mullin taking over. And then, of course, the Department of Homeland Security right now, not funded because they haven't been able to get that bill across.
So first off, on Kristi Noem, I have always respected Kristi Noem. There were some things that came up in a hearing yesterday. That's probably where this stemmed from. I added to some other things. Her and actually what's really wild is she and Markwayne Mullin are very good friends. They were classmates, served with both of them. Markwayne will do a good job. So we'll see how that plays out. But the good thing is Markwayne is financially independent. So being as he's going into a job that if the Democrats keep doing this, they're not getting paid. So, understand this. The Democrats are holding this funding bill up in the act, saying that they're wanting to do it because of the ICE situation. ICE is already funded for the next 5 years, so it doesn't actually affect them, but it does affect TSA workers at your airports. It affects the Coast Guard. It affects FEMA and all of the other Homeland Security things that are out there. And it is ridiculous because at a time when we're dealing with what we're dealing with in the situation in Iran and the heightened intensity from the Muslim Brotherhood around this world in response to that, homegrown and people who would be in this country here today, we are not paying those people who are busy trying to protect the homeland side, and it's just it's ridiculous. It's time to quit playing politics and actually start playing for the American team.
Yeah, what is their demands? What if you were to say, okay, Democrats, what do you have to have in order to get this done? What do they want?
Okay, first off, one thing they said was body cameras. So guess what? The decision was made that they would wear body cameras. That's not that big a deal. Now, here's the other thing. They want them unmasked. They also want to have them seek out warrants that they don't need because in a lot of these cases, because what you're doing is you're dealing with illegals. But understand that if these sanctuary cities would stop being sanctuary cities, and that they would allow their police departments and sanctuary states to turn over people that are illegal to ICE so that things can be handled, that would cure a lot of this problem. But that being said, they're asking a whole lot of things that actually would endanger our law enforcement rather than allowing law enforcement to do their job. Now, and remember this from what we can see in these negotiations. The negotiations are with the president, but it's still when certain things are like the cameras, then they move the goalpost because now many Democrats don't believe it's a good thing to have body cameras because then they will actually see what the criminals around them are doing.
Yeah. So, Illinois sanctuary state, Chicago sanctuary city. Can you explain to me, just give me I don't know if you have a specific anecdote, but if there is a hardened violent criminal arrested here in the state of Illinois, in the sanctuary state that you and I both live in, if there's a hardened criminal that's arrested and he's known to be here illegally, he gets arrested by local police, what happens next or what doesn't happen next?
Well, what doesn't happen next is if our local police and or our sheriffs, and that's what we're dealing with most of the time in my district, because remember, I have 34 sheriffs. Yeah. Most of those sheriffs will go ahead and notify ICE, even though there's a question, are they in violation of state law? Are they, and so you're either going to be in violation of state law or you're going to be in violation of federal law. Most of my sheriffs had said, if we take somebody in and we find out that they're illegal, and are we getting net message from ICE, which is the way that happens, because ICE quite often hears, and all ICE says is, before you release them, just let us know when you're going to release them, and then they'll come in and pick them up. Okay. And that's the way it normally works.
But what about in Chicago? Is that the way the sanctuary cities operate?
Nope. What they do is they just take, and if they arrest them, and they release them, unless they can hold them for the crime that they've done, if it was in their jurisdiction. If they arrest them and they got a warrant someplace else, I'm not sure what their decision is going to be, based on the fact if they're wanting to follow the rules set forth by the council.
We're speaking with Congressman Mike Bost, Illinois' 12th District Representative in the House of Representatives. You're also the chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. I want to shift to the situation in Iran. And I want to ask a very specific question of you, because you are tasked with a very, very big responsibility to care for our country's veterans. I can hardly think of a higher honor and a bigger responsibility than those who have protected and provided our freedom. I hear a lot of people that maybe even be center to right on the political aisle. They're very concerned that the United States of America does not know how to handle, treat, protect, and restore our veterans once they get done fighting. And a new war creates a bunch of military men and women who have gone and seen battle, gone and participated in something that the rest of us can't understand or comprehend or empathize with. And we don't know what to do with these people, how to care for them truly when we come back. You're the chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say to those people who are concerned that while this might be a righteous effort in Iran, we don't do a good enough job of caring for our veterans in our country?
We work along with the Secretary of the VA. Does the VA have problems? Yes, it does, because it is the second largest bureaucracy in the world. That being said, our military veterans, for the most part, seeking help from the VA, will receive that help, and we actually have one of the best policies for taking care of our veterans after war of any nation in the world. Now, but it is vitally important that I do my job, and the members of our committee do our job, and the staff does their job, working with the Secretary, that if we see problems and we see mistakes or see things that aren't being done correctly, to correct them. That is what you have to do when you have the largest bureaucracy in the world. But some of the services our veterans receive, 80, well, I'd say more 90, 95% of the veterans that actually go to VA and seek out the services are very happy with the services they receive. If not, then they can, that's why we're here. Reach out. More than that is when we see the issues that, we have some of the best studies on how to deal with and treat post-traumatic stress, what causes it. Also, we have the best of the best doctors as far as, well, for instance, if you look at the members of Congress that are disabled veterans, and I know one very well, I know them all very well, but one would say he's not disabled, he's just in a situation that other people don't have. And that's Brian Mass, and he loves the VA. He loves and I guarantee you, Dan Crenshaw, same thing. Dan Crenshaw has been totally, so those that have been wounded, they get the best treatment, and they receive that treatment for life and benefits for life.
Congressman Bost, you're a Marine. You have served. You understand. My quick search here says in the late 70s and the early 80s, you were a part of the service. And of course, once a Marine, always a Marine. Do you feel as though in the amount of time that you have been in the military as an active service member to where you have now ascended to the place where you are the chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, has there been some low points that now have been rectified? Would you say that maybe people's impression of the VA might be a dated impression?
Yeah. Let me tell you a lot of things that have been rectified and improved upon. One is back whenever I got one, you weren't really told all that was available to you. Now, because of the TAP program, our veterans are being told what's available to them. Also, an important thing to remember about our VAs used to be really good for mail, but didn't really have a lot for females. Now every one of our VAs, because they're our fastest growing group of veterans, they receive services that are gender specific, as well they should. And so there's been a tremendous amount of improvements, as well as quick responses, where remember that whenever I got out, Vietnam was just over, and we had people dying, and they kind of put their head in the sand, and that was over Agent Orange. We have since fixed that, and we did not let that go into a long-time issue when we started dealing with toxic exposure with our post 9/11 veterans. That's why we passed the PACT Act before 2/3 of them died off, like we had with Agent Orange. So we're seeing these things ahead of time. And so this, even in the last few years, our backlog of people that are appealing for their veterans benefits is under 100,000 for the first time since 2020. So they're aggressively going after it and everything like that. But on your other question about my time that I served, I want you to think about this. The day that I joined the Marine Corps, there was a reason I joined. 3 days before the Iran hostages were taken by Ayatollah Khomeini and this regime, I joined to fight Iran. And the regime that I thought we were going to overthrow at that time. 46 years later, 5 presidents later, finally, we have done what needed to be done a long time. And I've got a list of things that is unbelievable if you look at them, of things, terrorist activity and things that they've done, whether it is the ship, whether it was the bombing that they did to the embassy. The list goes on and on, Annie, and it all stems back to this group of people that not only they do it themselves, or they do it by using proxies that they have trained and or supplied money and weapons to. Look, it's been a long time coming. Yeah. We're going to take care of our veterans, and as this fight gets over, let me tell you this, and the sad situation of 6 already dead, and it was, understand that it's 6 dead because that regime just took and fired drones willy-nilly, not necessarily knowing what they're going to hit, and now that's why all the other countries have now turned on them.
Oh, I want to ask you one final question before we let you go. Congressman Mike Bost speaking with us. There are people who are for or against this war, and there's debate going on. But I've heard people, think they're maybe more on the side of the aisle that you and I reside on, who are suggesting that these servicemen died for Israel or died for a country other than the United States of America. And I've heard other people say it is never anyone's right to put upon a serviceman who they did or did not die for. I just want to get your thoughts on the ultimate sacrifice that these individuals made, that these families made, and any clarity you might like to offer in those statements.
These servicemen and women that have been wounded and the deaths died defending the United States on a military base supplied by the United States in foreign countries, being on the front line for the United States. Whether the people want to know this or not, you do need to understand that we are a superpower, and it is vitally important for those bases that we have overseas to keep our personnel there, because it is better to put our guards up there to assist other countries than it is to be fighting in the streets of Southern Illinois and any place in this United States. Those people that have served our nation, regardless of the branch of service, they do it and they know the risk as they move forward, and they do it out of patriotism. And that patriotism puts them quite often in other countries besides our own, but they are always standing in the guard and on the guard and in the gap for we, the United States citizens. Trust me, I know that. As a veteran, I know that. And as all other veterans, they know that.
Yeah, and we're just indebted to an exponential degree that we can't even put into words for the willingness of those individuals and veterans that you serve on the House Veterans Affairs Committee as a chairman there. We are very grateful.
Remember this. 1% serves 100%. That's how our volunteer system works. It's an average of 1% serve for 100%.
It's incredible. Congressman Bost, thank you for the time today.
Annie, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
U.S. Congressman for Illinois' 12th District, chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Great to get his perspective on that. We're going to have Eric Schmidt in about 10 minutes from right now, and we'll talk about this. We're going to talk about the DHS funding. I'm going to ask him about Kristi Noem. Is Mark Wayne Mullen